Hello students, today we will discuss the role of fungi in industry. Now fungi, it is having a very extensive use in industries, mainly in wine industry. Wine industry means where all alcoholic beverages they are formed. Now this wine and other alcoholic beverages like beer, these are mainly the products of the process which is known as the fermentation. Now students, fermentation we have already discussed that it is a process in which the microorganisms they break down carbohydrates. What kind of microorganisms? Especially yeast and bacteria. They break down carbohydrates into simpler products like ethanol or lactic acid in the absence of oxygen. So this kind of process which occurs in the absence of oxygen with the help of microorganism, it is known as the fermentation. Now the main source used for making wine, it is grape, and for the formation of beer it is barley maltose. And the microorganism which is used for these two products, for the formation of these two things, it is yeast, and the special name of this yeast, it is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Now students, it is the biochemical reaction of the process of fermentation. Now here you can see when glucose it is fermented, then ethanol is produced and two molecules of carbon dioxide gas it is produced. Now students, we will discuss how wine it is produced in the industries. Now as I have told you that the main source of wine it is a grapes. So for the formation of wines, firstly the grapes they are crushed, and the juice which is produced by their crushing it is fermented in large vessels. Now some yeast cells they may be naturally present, and if they are not naturally present, then some yeast cells they are added to carry out the process of fermentation. Now when fermentation of this grape juice is done, then ethanol is produced at a concentration of about 12%. Means in this ethanol, in this fermentation process, the ethanol it is produced at a concentration of about 12%. And at this concentration, the yeast cells they automatically start killing. So whatever is left, it is wine. So in this way, the wine it is produced. Now other alcoholic beverages just like whiskey and gin, they are having a high alcohol content, and they are obtained by the distillation of the fermented mixture. Now about composition of wine. The wine it contains variable amount of water, alcohol, carbon dioxide, sugar and a few other substances. Now what about the characteristics of wine? Wine means what are the characteristics of a good wine? So good wine it should be quickly absorbed into the body. Then if it is taken in small quantities or in mild quantities, then it may act as a stimulant. But when consumed in large quantities, then it can be harmful to our body. Stimulant means just as a tiredness reliever. So students, you can see that the people who are doing the work for the whole day and at night when they get tired, then in order to get relief from that tiredness, they take a little quantity of this wine so that they may have a good sleep. So in this way, this wine it acts as a stimulant. Now if this alcohol, if this wine it is taken in large quantities, then it may be harmful to us. Now how it may be harmful to us? Because then it may develop body ailments like liver cirrhosis. So students, it is a role of fungus in formation of wine. Now we will discuss the role of fungi in baking industry. Baking means bread making industry. Now how this bread it is formed? Firstly, a mixture of flour. Flour means atta or maida. Then this mixture of flour, then some fat. Fat means some kind of oil. Then salt and water. It will be taken to make dough. Now the starch of the flour, then it gets converted into sugar. And when the yeast now it is added in order to carry out the process of fermentation, when the yeast it is added, then this yeast it ferments the sugar and produces carbon dioxide gas. And in this way the dough, it rises to about 3 times its original volume. So this process of rising of dough about 3 times to its original volume, it is called leavening. So when this dough, raised dough, it is baked, then we know that the gas bubbles in the form of carbon dioxide gas, they are present in it, and due to only those gas bubbles, this dough, it gets risen. So in this way the gas bubbles, they get expand on baking, and this, when they get expand, then they get burst, and when they get burst, then it gives the bread a light spongy texture. So students, you almost you have seen, when you see the bread, then you can see the burst type structure, spongy structure, texture in the bread. That burst spongy texture, it is only because of this bursting of these gas bubbles. Now we will discuss the role of fungi in cheese industry. Now what is cheese? Cheese, it is a valuable food with high quantities of protein, some fat, and together with calcium and phosphorus and vitamin A and some quantities of vitamin B. Now students, you all have been eating cheese. So you know that from what kind of product this cheese it is formed. You know it very well. So students, I think you know that cheese, it has been made from milk. Now how does this cheese how this cheese, it is made from this milk? Now we will discuss those steps. Now firstly, for the formation of cheese, the first step is the curdling of milk. Curdling of milk means some lactobacillus bacteria, they are added in the milk, and they are added in the milk for the formation of curd. So when the curd, it is produced, then this curd, it is separated from whey. Whey means the watery part of the curd. The curd produced, it is separated from whey. Then when that watery part, it is removed, then this curd, it is again processed to remove moisture. And this process, it is known as the cottage cheese. At this stage, the cheese, it is known as the cottage cheese. Now again a little bit moisture, it is left in this cheese, and if this moisture, it remains in the same way, then this moisture, it favors the growth of undesirable microorganisms. So in order to prevent the growth of these undesirable microorganisms, this cheese, it is salted, means it is mixed with salt. So this salting process, it removes the moisture. Further, it removes further moisture which is present in this cheese. Now the cheese, now it is ready without any content of moisture after these 3 steps. Now at the 4th step, which is also known as the ripening step, this curd, it is kept at suitable temperature. Now students, cheese, this cottage cheese, it is kept at suitable temperature, or the curd is kept at suitable temperature and humidity, and the microorganisms added along with lactic acid bacteria, they impart particular flavors to the cheese. Because when at the first step, when we add lactobacillus bacteria to the milk, then we also add some particular bacteria along with those lactobacillus bacteria, so that particular flavors, they should be given to the cheese. So this process, it is known as the ripening process. So in this way we have discussed the role of fungus in wine industry, in cheese industry, and how this wine is formed, how this cheese is formed, and how the bread is formed. Now students, we will discuss mushroom cultivation. Now mushrooms, I think you almost all have heard about these mushrooms, and you all have tasted these mushrooms. So mushroom pizza, you all people have eaten. So mushrooms, they are of various shapes and size. Many have cap and stalk, but in some varieties stalk, it is absent. So there are a large number of mushroom species which grow wild in nature. But students, all these mushrooms which grow wild in nature, these all are not suitable for eating. Only a few mushrooms, they are edible, and most of the mushrooms, they are poisonous. So whenever we have to purchase the mushrooms, we have to buy it from a registered shopkeeper. Then the edible ones have been eaten by humans since ancient times. Now Agaricus bisporus, it is the most commonly used mushrooms all over the world. And at present, three kinds of mushrooms they are widely cultivated in India. First is known as white button mushroom, second is paddy straw mushroom, third is oyster mushroom. Now scientific names of these three mushrooms, first one is called Agaricus bisporus, second one is called Wolverilla, and third one is called Pleurotus. Now mushroom cultivation, it is almost done indoors. Indoors means it can be done inside a big room. So it requires a very little area. Mushrooms can be grown on a substrate which is having compost. And this compost, it is composed of agriculture waste. Agriculture waste like plant waste and some decaying organic matter which is used for the fertilizing land. Now white button mushroom, this I have already told you that it is the mushroom which is the edible mushroom, and it is the most eaten mushroom throughout the world. So it is also most popular variety grown in India. So its cultivation, it involves mainly 5 steps. First one is called composting, spawning, casing, cropping, harvesting and preservation. Now firstly we will discuss the composting. Compost, it is prepared by mixing the wheat or paddy straw. Then second thing is that chicken manure, then some organic and inorganic fertilizers. So all these things, they are mixed in a suitable amount, and then this compost, it is kept at about 50 degrees Celsius for having a good temperature, so that the organic, all the organic material or the organic waste which is present in the compost, it should be converted to suitable material which can increase the fertility of the soil. So compost, it is kept at about 50 degrees Celsius for about 1 week. Then second process, it is called the spawning. Spawning means here in the compost we have to add the mushroom seed, and this mushroom seed, it consists of mycelium of the selected type of mushroom, and then this mushroom seed, it is introduced into the compost, and then it allowed to spread for a couple of days. Then after these couple of days, when this mycelium, it is introduced into the compost, then after that a thin layer of soil, it is spread over the compost. And this is very important step, because this thin layer of soil, it gives support to the mushroom, it provides humidity, it prevents quick drying of the compost, and it helps to regulate temperature. So this step, it is known as a casing. Now after this couple of days, then the growth of mushrooms occurs. Now how this growth of mushroom occurs? It occurs in 3 principal stages. First of all, the mycelium, it grows within 2 to 6 weeks. Mycelium means a network of fibrous mass only. Then after it, the teeny pinhead, it starts appearing. Then button stage appears, and when this button stage, it gets some large size, then it means the mushroom, it is ready for marketable size. Now then full grown mushrooms, they are taken out from the compost. Then after they are taken out from the compost, then the most important step, it is to preserve these mushrooms, because these mushrooms, they get destroyed, they get damaged at a very high temperature very easily. So we have to keep them firstly at vacuum cooling. Then we have to give some gamma radiation and storing them at 15 degrees Celsius temperature. Then we have to freeze drying in a solution of citric acid, ascorbic acid and brine, etc. So in this way we can preserve the mushrooms for a long time. Now about the nutritive value of mushrooms. Mushrooms, they are excellent source of vitamins and minerals. They are having a good amount of niacin, then pantothenic acid and biotin. The mushrooms, they are well retained with vitamins when they are cooked. And fresh mushrooms, they contain about 85 to 95% moisture, 3% protein, 4% carbohydrate, then some kind amount of fat, and 1% minerals and vitamins. So it is all about the nutritive value of mushrooms. So students, you come to know that how nutritive the mushroom is. So we have to eat them, we have to add them in our daily diet because they are very nutritious. So in this way our chapter is finished. Okay, thank you.